So what happens when the smartest people in the world just can't agree on anything? Today, we're going to crack open the philosopher's toolkit to see how one thinker, Victor Cousin, tried to call a ceasefire in a full-blown war of ideas.
You know, it's a question that feels like it could be about today, right? But believe it or not, it's the exact same problem that pushed 18th century philosophy right to its breaking point.
All right, so to really get a handle on the solution, we first need to understand the conflict. Let's paint a picture of this philosophical battlefield.
The world of ideas back then was pretty much a war zone. I mean, you basically had to pick a side, and the two main camps could not have been more different in how they thought we come to know, well, anything at all.
And these two armies, they had totally different playbooks. On one side, you've got the empiricists, guys like Locke and Condillac. They argued that everything we know comes through our senses. If you can't see it, touch it, or taste it, well, it just isn't real. Simple as that. Then, on the other side, you had the rationalists, like Reid and Kant. They were all about the power of pure reason, believing our minds already hold certain fundamental truths that our senses could never teach us.
And here's the thing. Both sides kind of had a point, right? The empiricists were right that our senses matter. The rationalists were right that reason is powerful. But because both sides were so dug in, insisting that only their piece of the puzzle was correct, philosophy just ground to a halt. It was a complete and total deadlock.
Okay, so this is where our guy, the French philosopher Victor Cousin, steps onto the scene. He takes one look at this philosophical mess and proposes a totally radical, but also brilliantly simple way to move forward.
He called his method eclecticism. And let's be clear, this isn't just, grabbing your favorite ideas from a buffet. It was a really disciplined process. Cousin argued that instead of being a soldier for one camp, a true philosopher should be more like a detective, sifting through every single system to find that valuable kernel of truth hidden inside.
And the process itself? It's awesome. Step 1, you look at every viewpoint with an open mind, no bias. Step 2, you play the judge. You carefully sift out what's valid from what's not. And then the final step, you take all those little bits of truth and you build something bigger, something more complete and powerful. See? It's all about building up, not tearing down.
But here's a key point. Cousin wasn't just collecting random truths. His whole eclectic method had a guiding star, a core philosophy that told him what he was even looking for.
And he said it himself, right? His true flag wasn't one of these warring schools of thought. It was an idea, spiritualism. That was his true north, the thing that kept his entire search on track.
So what exactly did he mean by spiritualism? Okay, first things first. This has zero to do with ghosts or seances, none of that stuff. For Cousin, it was all about the human spirit. Our ability to reason, to be moral, to be free. He thought that was the absolute best part of us. Our senses, yeah, they're useful tools for sure. But the spirit, that's the boss. And the whole point of philosophy for him was to lift that spirit up.
And this whole philosophy really rested on a few big ideas, like the idea that we have free will, and yeah, we're responsible for our choices, that we're guided by this inner sense of duty and justice, and that all of this kind of points to something bigger than just ourselves. You could say this was the bedrock for his entire project.
All right, quick recap. We've got the method, that's eclecticism, and we've got the guiding philosophy, that's spiritualism. So now let's put this toolkit to the test, right? Let's see how it tackles the three biggest questions in philosophy. What's true, what's beautiful, and what's good?
First up, truth. For Cousin, this was crystal clear. Think of reason like a telescope. A telescope doesn't create the stars, right? It just lets you see them. That's what he thought reason does. He argued that these absolute truths, things like cause and effect, they're just out there. They exist whether we're here or not. Our minds just have this incredible ability to perceive them, not make them up.
Next, let's talk about the beautiful. Cousin was not a fan of the idea that art is just about making a perfect copy of a tree. Nope. For him, a real artist does something way cooler. They don't just imitate nature, they reveal the ideal beauty that nature is pointing towards. So that amazing painting or sculpture, it's giving you a peek at a kind of perfection that the physical world can only hint at.
And that brings us to the good. This is where his spiritualism really shines. He argued that morality isn't about what makes you happy or what's useful to you. Not at all. It's about an absolute universal law of duty that our reason just understands. Doing the right thing is an obligation we have to our own moral nature, and it's totally separate from any personal gain. Okay, so we've got a philosopher from the 1800s solving a problem from the 1700s. You might be thinking, why should I care about any of this today? Well, it turns out this old idea is actually super relevant.
I mean, just think about our world right now. We're constantly getting hit with conflicting experts, polarized opinions, and just a fire hose of information. Cousins' method is like a powerful antidote to all that chaos. This whole idea of impartially looking at all sides, separating fact from fiction, and building a more complete truth. Honestly, that's not just a tool for philosophy, that's a survival skill for the 21st century.
And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. In our own lives, when we're facing our own little wars of ideas, whether it's online, in the news, or in our communities, could this methodical, truth-seeking, eclectic mindset be the most valuable tool we have? Maybe, just maybe, the path to wisdom isn't about winning the argument, but about building a better understanding from all sides.